Imagine a legal system that hunts down a man for murder, secures a conviction, and then, years later, makes the official decision to open the gates and let him walk away. That is exactly what happened in Texas in 1989, and exactly 3 days after he was released, another innocent person was dead. The man was Kenneth McDuff. He was already known to authorities as the Broomstick Killer, following a brutal triple homicide in 1966. The violence of that crime had mobilized law enforcement immediately. They tracked McDuff down, took him into custody, and secured a conviction for the killings. The court handed down the ultimate penalty, a formal death sentence intended to ensure he never walked the streets again. At the time, the victims' families believed the system had worked. They felt a sense of closure, unaware that the killer was only being held temporarily. McDuff managed to avoid his execution due to a massive legal shift at the federal level that temporarily invalidated death penalties across the country. His sentence was officially commuted to life in prison. Following the change in his sentence, McDuff was moved off death row and reintegrated into the general prison population. As the years passed, the terms of his commuted sentence changed his eligibility for release. By 1989, a combination of prison overcrowding and state formulas put him in line for parole. The process culminated in a final systemic failure. The parole board reviewed his file and granted him full freedom. The justice system had legally returned a known killer to the public. Any illusion of safety for the community vanished the moment he stepped outside. In 1989, Kenneth McDuff walked out of the prison gates, supposedly a man who had served his time and was ready to rejoin society. That transition lasted exactly 72 hours. 3 days into his freedom, McDuff reverted to his previous patterns and claimed his first new victim. He didn't stop there. Between 1989 and 1992, McDuff moved through the Waco, Texas area, targeting victims across central Texas. His rate of killing accelerated, occurring entirely outside the notice of the authorities who had authorized his release. At least 10 more people were murdered during this time, the direct result of the parole board's decision to let him go. By 1992, a frantic law enforcement manhunt was underway to stop the violence and correct the mistake made 3 years earlier. When authorities finally captured McDuff, the justice system had to confront the reality of the 1989 release. The data was staggering. Investigators officially tied McDuff to 9 specific murders during his second spree. However, evidence led investigators to suspect the true number of victims between 1989 and 1992 actually exceeded 14. The reality is that every person killed after 1989 could have been saved if his original 1966 sentence had been carried out as intended. McDuff returned to death row. In 1998, his final legal appeals reached their end. The state finally carried out his sentence, and McDuff was executed by lethal injection. While this provided a permanent end to his crimes, it came decades too late for his victims in Waco. The case of Kenneth McDuff ended in 1998, but the underlying concern remains. If a system can legally release a man with his history once, we have no way of knowing who else is being granted parole today.